Hey everybody, welcome back to Vegas Weekly for Saturday, January the 22nd, 2022. As you noticed from our little bumper, we're going to be starting a feature on the show going forward over the next 6 weeks called Vegas 101. And we'll get back to that real quick. Just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. We will be doing our more or less regular monthly live stream this Wednesday, 6 o'clock Vegas time. That's 9 on the East Coast, 8 in the Central time zones, 7 in the mountains, I guess. So if you don't have anything else going on, we'd like for you to join us. It's always fun to chat with other members of the Vegas community. And while I talk to some of these people on more or less a daily basis, some of them it's fun to connect with once again. So feel free to join us on that. I'll put up a thumbnail and get that scheduled in the next day or so you can click that reminder and not miss out on what should be an epic event. We'll incorporate some features of the new Wednesday show, including our Vegas update, which we do have, and our weekly food find. So that'll be live. So you might as well, I think we'll just call this one the Wednesday Show Live. Don't miss it. Okay, so what's Vegas 101 and what is this all about? Well, you know, when you start a new year, you kind of reflect back on things a little bit, and you also kind of look forward. And it's usually around this time of the year I start thinking to myself, what in the world is the purpose of this channel? Other than to give me an opportunity to talk on a camera and occasionally have people watch it. Well, originally the purpose of this whole channel was to provide people with good Vegas information. I think we still do that, but I think sometimes we assume a little much about what people know. And so maybe the show becomes more for people that already know a lot about Las Vegas and less for people who may want to learn more about Las Vegas. And so I think from time to time, maybe the start of a new year is a good time. It's worth revisiting some of the basics for Vegas and Vegas visitors. And as anyone who's ever attended university, or for that matter, probably high school these days, you know, 101, the 101 class is the intro class. It's the class where you learn the basics. And that's what we're going to do over the next 6 weeks, is talk about the basics of Las Vegas, traveling to Las Vegas, your experiences there, what the city is like. And along the way, we'll cover some of the classic Vegas tips and tricks, which we've talked about over the years. So hopefully it'll be a useful segment, particularly for those of you who haven't been to Las Vegas or haven't been recently, or maybe just didn't pay that much attention the last time you were there. Okay, so part 1 of Vegas 101 is simply called the basics. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the city of Las Vegas, some basic information about the climate, the topography, just what Nevada in general is like. We're not going to cover a lot of issues that mostly affect locals. Certainly issues like water, transportation, homelessness. These are major concerns in the city of Las Vegas, how to handle growth. But they only tangentially affect the visitor. So while I think it's important to be aware of some of these issues which almost every major urban center in the America and beyond deal with, it's not something we're going to focus in on today or throughout this program. If you have questions, you can certainly address those in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer as best I can. Before we get started today, I do want to ask you one favor. Hit that subscribe button, because you're going to want to make sure that you're here throughout Vegas 101 so you can learn everything you need to know to be an informed visitor to the city. And if you enjoy our video today, click that like button, share it with a friend. It's a small price to pay because it doesn't cost you a dime. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions people have about Las Vegas is it's just all casinos and, you know, it's just Sin City. Only a small part of Las Vegas really resembles that sort of stereotype. Of course, it tends to be the part of the city that most visitors visit, and sometimes the only part of the city they visit. Certainly the Las Vegas Strip, which is a approximately 4-mile stretch of Las Vegas Boulevard, from on the south side, the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino, up to the observation tower, the Strat, which is visible almost anywhere in the city. And along the way, there are dozens of some of the largest hotels and resorts anywhere in the world. But Las Vegas, you may not know, the city proper is home to approximately 650,000 people. The metro area, over 2 million people. It's one of the 30 largest urban areas in the United States, and it's the largest urban area that was founded in the 20th century. The initial land auction, which more or less created the city, was only in 1905, and the city was incorporated in 1911. Of course, along the way, there's been a lot of misadventures, and we've talked about Vegas history on a few occasions. But certainly the building of the nearby Hoover Dam, which has helped provide power and water to the community, the legalization of gambling, the easy access to marriage and divorce, and of course, just in general, the sort of free approach to life, that sort of Sin City, which attracts a lot of visitors, even if they're only curious. But again, if you venture outside the major tourist areas, Las Vegas looks very much like any other major city, has all the same fast food franchises and all of the same cookie cutter subdivisions. So, and it's worth venturing off the Strip from time to time. There are a number of attractions, and there are certainly a number of even casinos and hotels which are a bit far away from the traditional tourist areas. The most important thing to remember about Las Vegas is it's in a desert. If it wasn't for air conditioning and wells and sort of this thing, it would be completely inhospitable to the average human being. Now, the city of Las Vegas itself means in Spanish, the meadows, because the area around the town site was known by natives and explorers alike to have a number of grasslands as well as some natural springs. So Las Vegas, compared to the surrounding mountainous regions, was kind of an oasis. But and it is still kind of an oasis, but it remains in the middle of a desert, a relatively high desert, around 2,000 feet. So it's not quite Death Valley, but it's certainly not, say, Reno or Santa Fe or some higher climates that are also quite arid. People tend to think Las Vegas is always warm. They think, well, I'll go to Las Vegas in December or January and I'll hang out at the pool. I wouldn't advise that. Las Vegas has 4 very distinct seasons. A very hot summer, a bumper area in the spring and the fall that tend to be the nicest times to visit. And then during the winter, it actually gets relatively cold. Surprisingly enough, one of the most asked questions about Las Vegas is, what's the weather likely to be? Well, outside of just Googling it, I thought we would pass along a little graphic that I found on some random website. If it's your website, let me know. I'll give you credit for it. But it's kind of a pretty common chart. And I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen here in just a second. If you want to freeze it or screenshot it, just to take a look at it, we'll throw it up there and I'll make a few comments about it while it's on the screen. Okay, so as you can see, there's quite a bit of variation in temperature in Las Vegas. And in the months of January and December, see the temperature nearly gets down to freezing. Yes, it does occasionally snow in Las Vegas. Don't count on it, although the outlying areas probably get some snow every year or two. And certainly up on the mountains outside Las Vegas, Mount Charleston, good place to visit. They get snow pretty much every year. And then if you look in the summer months, June, July, August, over 100 degrees on average, and sometimes it gets hotter than that. 110, 115 is not unheard of. Yes, it's a dry heat, but it'll still get to you after a while. So as you can see, April, October, really ideal temperatures, and that's probably my favorite time to visit. Hopefully that graphic was helpful to you in terms of kind of planning when might be the best time for you to be in Las Vegas. And I didn't point it out as much, but there's quite a bit of variation day to night. So it's definitely a city for layering or, carrying around a jacket or a sweater for the evening hours. Because it can change pretty dramatically between the time you go out at 7 or 8 at night and the time you leave at 2 in the morning. So keep that in mind. Of course, the temperatures inside the casino are consistently cold. So even during those winter months, some people, if you're particularly sensitive to that, may want to wear a light jacket or sweater because the air conditioning works pretty darn good in that arid climate. If you fly into Las Vegas, you'll fly into LAS. That's the little abbreviation you'll want to use if you're booking a flight. For years, it was known as McCarran International Airport. It is now, in just the last couple of months, become known as Harry Reid International Airport. So if you hear that term and you're not sure what it is, that's the airport in Las Vegas. If your trip to Las Vegas is mostly to see the classic tourist areas like the Las Vegas Strip or the downtown area around Fremont Street, it's probably not necessary to rent a car. In fact, it can be more trouble than it's worth. Most of the attractions are within easy walking distance, and there's a pretty efficient bus system, as well as, of course, cabs, rideshare, all that sort of thing, and even a monorail that'll take you from one end of the Strip to the other. Increasingly, hotels are charging parking fees, and of course, if, like many Vegas visitors, you plan on imbibing, perhaps one too many, a car may just be something you have to end up leaving behind and retrieving at a later date. Another misconception people have about Las Vegas is that it's cheap. Well, it can be. There's still a lot of great values. In fact, hotel rates in Las Vegas compared to most major urban areas are really still very low. And what you get for your money tends to be very high. But it's nothing like it was when your Uncle Otto went way back in the 50s or 60s. If you're planning to hit up a $3.99 buffet, you're not going to do it in Las Vegas. These sort of classic buffets are now, where you can find them, upwards $20, $30 or more. And all of the great steak specials that you may have heard about are mostly now consigned to some of the outlying casinos. You can still stumble on them from time to time, but you'll have to do some legwork. Now, Las Vegas is a pretty pricey place to eat these days. Okay, so let's briefly cover the Sin in Sin City, and we'll do a whole show on that as the weeks progress. And of course, gambling is legal in the state of Nevada, but you may be surprised to know that it's not just confined to your hotel or a nearby bar. No, you could find slot machines in grocery stores, convenience stores. In fact, practically anywhere there could be slot machines or video poker machines. Of course, they're notoriously present at the airport. Generally speaking, these sort of outlying gambling options are not the best, so I'd probably steer clear of them, but they're there. Of course, gambling is 24/7, but so is alcohol. There is no last call in the state of Nevada. So if you're in Las Vegas, 3, 4 in the morning, no worries. The bar down at the casino is probably still open, and you can go to the liquor store and pick up some booze. So there you go. That could be good. That could be bad. Another thing that's legal in the state of Nevada is cannabis, marijuana, THC. In fact, there are dispensaries located all over the city. They welcome your tourist dollars. Now, technically, keep in mind that there's no place that a tourist can legally imbibe. They are in the process of licensing and building marijuana lounges. And so that should come online in the next couple of years. But right now, unless you have a friend and you're allowed to smoke in their private residence, there's no place to legally consume the product. Though anywhere you go, you're likely to smell it. So just a little bit of cautionary advice, but it's out there. Prostitution is not legal in the city of Las Vegas. Now, in some of the outlying counties, it is, but that's another one that could get you in a lot of trouble, and that's the last thing you need on your vacation. Okay, so we're going to wrap up part 1 of Vegas 101. I hope that the information we provided today was helpful to you. If it was, again, hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any questions, anything you'd like me to cover in the weeks to come, please do leave it in the comments below. Again, we'll be doing our Wednesday show live this Wednesday, 6 o'clock Vegas time. And we'll be back here again next Saturday with another episode of Vegas Weekly. Until then, I hope you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.